right. All right. Thanks everyone for joining another episode of the OpenJS Foundation's Cross-Project Council meeting. Today is the 21st of April. As I mentioned, I'll share my screen since we're having some trouble with GitHub, and this way folks can follow along easily. Shoot, what was I going to mention? I can't remember now. Do we have any announcements? I'd like to. I guess I'll start with announcements if I can pull this up. I don't think it will. No, there's a unicorn. I wanted to congratulate some folks who, I know where I can find it. Hang on. I've got a great GitHub integration here. I mean, Slack integration.
Be careful about leaking chat if there's anything.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you. So I'll try to do it from memory. I wanted to welcome some new regular members that were previously, I think, mostly voting members, but now are on board as regular members. Their pull requests were merged this morning. I think, if I remember correctly, it's Emily, Anton, Nick, and Chris. I think I remembered all of them, so welcome them. They've
hello.
Been active all along, but yeah, hello, thank you. Cool. So yeah, I wanted to mention that. Any other announcements before we get into the agenda?
Yes, but of course. So just a reminder that today is a meaningful day here at OpenJS Foundation. We have the Summit Planning Group meeting, which is immediately following the CPC meeting. We're really excited about OpenJS World and the Summit. Things are coming together, and I think we've got some really super solid speakers and keynotes that are going to get announced really soon for the conference, and like, I'm so jazzed, you have no idea. And then also the summit itself, we are really thinking creatively and adapting what we want to do to the virtual reality, which is now actual reality for all of us anyway. So please attend if you're interested in helping with that in any way, shape, or form. You are very warmly welcomed to the summit planning meetings. Second, after that meeting is the standards working group meeting. And I don't recall, there's maybe 2 things on our agenda for that meeting, but it's always fun time too. Marketing meeting is after that meeting. This is for us to talk about ideas for how and content and things we can do to just help spread the word about our projects and the awesome stuff that they do, and also, you know, get the word out about our foundation and events and that kind of stuff. That's also welcome. You're also welcome to attend that meeting. Node Red is our next AMA session on May 4th. That'll be with Nick O'Leary and his collaborator, whose name is immediately escaping me. I apologize, but that will no doubt be very fun as well. Anybody who might be interested in doing an AMA for their own project, please let me know. And then Dylan's news. I think Dylan should share.
Just finding the mute button.
Yeah.
Yeah, so after many months of work, Dojo 7 is just about ready, and we'll probably release late this week, maybe sooner, maybe later. We just have a couple last bugs to work through, but it's probably our biggest set of updates since Dojo 2 came out 2 years ago.
Woohoo! And
yeah,
that's pretty exciting.
Thanks.
jQuery also had an update last week too, so it's kind of fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
And didn't Node, is Node something with Node 2 recently?
Node 14.
Node 14 came out an hour ago.
Yeah.
An hour ago. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
I would say we've released a whole bunch of Dojo 1 updates over the past few months because people keep finding like old security vulnerabilities, which are really fun to fix. But it's nice to be mostly focused on the new stuff.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Great. Anything else in terms of announcements?
Not related
Normally
to
this would
no.
be, okay, thanks, Jory. Normally there'd be an open office hours meeting this week, but I have too much going on and didn't have anything planned and want to do a little bit more prep work for future meetings. So I canceled this week. But if you or your project or a project you know of in the foundation wants to, present and be a part of the open office hours, that would be great. We've done Express and ESLint. I'm talking with AMP right now, and anybody else who would want to share and use it as an opportunity to potentially get new contributors, just let me know. A bit of housekeeping. I am sharing my screen and not jumping back and forth between Zoom and stuff. So if anybody needs to be, attendees need to be let in, or if I'm missing somebody's hand raised or something, just let me know, all right? Excuse me.
Feel free to add me as a co-host, Joe, and I'd be happy to help with it.
Cool. Or if a co-host can do that, I'm not sure. I don't want to. Oh, I can do it. Oh, look at that. I can do it here. I don't know if you all can see my screen promoting people and co-hosting and whatnot.
I could not.
Cool.
Joe.
Okay.
Also, hello.
Where are you? Also, hello. Did I make you co-host? Because you keep jumping around and, yep, there we go. Good. Okay, cool. Thanks, everybody. And the usual, if anybody can help take notes in the meeting notes, that'd be great. We would actually see your work in real time here. Any other announcements or any board meeting updates or anything like that?
Go ahead.
Oh, is it just the update that we have a board meeting this week?
Great.
That's pretty much what I was going to say. And I guess also that the vote for 495 is underway.
Great. And 495 is the amendment to the bylaws to ensure a sign off between CPC voting members.
Correct.
Great. Excellent. The meeting later this week, is that private or is there a public session, or what's the status on that?
We are planning a public session, but looking at the agenda, we may end up running long again. So we will definitely reserve space at the end, as we normally do. So we'll do our very best to get to it. And
maybe, Brian, we should even suggest doing it at the beginning. I don't know. And see if that's an option.
Yeah, let's maybe discuss that and see. Either way, we'll keep the meeting invite up to date here.
Great. Excuse me. Cool. So I tweaked the order of the agenda items before the meeting. I front-loaded the COC stuff primarily to just kind of mention that this would be a great thing to have a working session on. It's a challenge to coordinate people's time, so a CPC meeting would be great. Like I said, I'll send out an email. We can talk about that. I don't know if there's anything to report on either of these two issues. Does anybody have anything? Let's see. This one is.
I guess the only thing I'd ask there, Joe, is like if they include a doodle. I found that to be a very good tool to help coordinate people's times like that.
Sure.
Joe, I think this is actually something that was an action item that I dropped last week. So this may be my fault. I think my memory is recalling that I was going to help set up a doodle for this, and then what I ended up doing instead of that was starting to put together a organizational document because I was personally having some trouble keeping the multiple code of conduct related threads and things aligned. And so then I ended up spending time on that and I didn't do the doodle poll. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we are able to use a CPC meeting session, then I think that would be ideal. but I understand if people have other opinions. So we'll do the doodle if needed, and that's a new catchphrase that all the kids are using, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, in terms of
All right,
doing
cool.
working sessions, we have been doing that in the diagnostic working group where we alternate between like doing a status review versus digging down into one topic. So it seems to be working there.
Yeah,
Great.
that's very similar to what we had in mind for that, and because particularly on code of conduct related issues, because we have several threads open, and this meeting style requires some context switching. It can be kind of hard for me to keep track of it. So that's not related. Sorry, I'll stop talking.
No, I agree though. I think it would be good to just focus and make some serious progress from being able to dedicate some time to a particular issue at a time. Cool. So we will kind of skip over these two for now. Feel free to check them when GitHub is functioning properly. This next issue here, updates to requirements, potential new members. I've been trying my hardest to get this, where is it? Do I have it open somewhere? Dang it, that's the one. Oh no, here it is. I've been trying to get this into a pull request all last week and yesterday and today, but I haven't been able to. I'll just say really quickly, I would like to update the charter. I think the charter needs some modification for these edits, and I would like to make those modifications in a way that would not need modification in the future. So I'll open a pull request soon. I'm hoping today or tomorrow morning, and we can kind of discuss that then. Cool. If nobody has anything else, we'll move on. The next item is voting members chosen by regular members. Last week, we decided that we would open up nominations for a voting member that would be chosen by the existing regular members, and ask that folks not self-nominate here. I've taken an action item in terms of the election and elections like post-mortem, that we should better define process around this election as well. But as you see here in the issue, we've got some folks who have self-nominated. Someone even nominated Jory. We have to see if that qualifies, although I would +1 that as well, since Jory is awesome. And I guess I'll take a moment to encourage any other regular members who are interested in becoming a voting member to self-nominate here. And we will start a voting process this week. Was it decided that we would have voting open for 1 week, and then would choose for next meeting we would announce? I guess we didn't really decide here, but that's what I would propose. Any comments or thoughts about this?
No comments on that timeline, but just I think I would love for us to try an election tool. Toby's suggested OpaVote, or there's Election Buddy. There's a whole bunch of different ones that Miles and I even checked out that I think we could consider using for this and future elections, because we just want to make sure that's transparent and repeatable for us.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense, especially since there's 2 positions and multiple candidates. So we'll probably need a more complicated voting mechanism, right?
Yeah, OpaVote offers a bunch of those.
Yeah.
And along with explanations as to what they do, which is also valuable. I've used it for the AMP election, the AMP advisory committee election. Not as the final decision maker, but as a way to figure out where everyone in the AC standard in terms of who they wanted to see elected, to start the conversation. And we actually looked at the different sorting algorithms, and it, frankly, like the whole software is solid. It's based on an open source project. It works really well.
Which one? What was the name of that again?
I think it's OpenVote. Is that what we said? I forget its name all the time. I think it's OpenVote. OpenVote.org.
Yeah, that's what you.
Yep.
That,
So if that's what I shared, that's what I meant, because I checked before sharing. And it would be paying. So like it would probably cost like somewhere along 10 to 20 bucks a vote. Sort of like an election cycle, or probably like 100 to 150 for like the year, something like that, I assume.
Okay, I think there were some. I know we looked at this in the past and have actually even used some. I don't know if, like the ones that Miles had looked at were free or whatever. But
is there a reason for not using sieves? I mean, just as a
Civs is
suggestion.
the one we've used in the past, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Civs is what we've used in the past. It works great.
We've had
that's
good luck.
CIVS?
Yeah, I just dropped it into the chat. It's
Okay.
the Condorcet Internet Voting Service. It's run by Cornell.
And it's free?
Yeah,
It's free.
it's free. I guess the biggest thing we got to figure out would be like, if we don't want to use the Condorcet style voting, then we may want to look at another service. And as Troy was mentioning, we had gone through and done a pretty broad survey of different tools, so we could dig those up. But I think that if people are okay with the Condorcet model, Civs is what we've used traditionally in the Node project, and I believe what we used last year for CPC elections.
Just a quick question. Why aren't we doing the same thing as we did for the at-large, the earlier voting cycle? The number of nominees and the number of eligible voters, I guess, is it the regular members who get to vote? They're roughly the same.
so the reason we did so this very recent election that concluded the way we did was a matter of the timeline that we had like identified in the issue versus nomination, and we do still need to, so we should action this. We need a postmortem on that, actually. So the timeline and the process were in conflict. So it was a bit, we kind of had to go with the minimum viable thing to get it done based on those two factors. And like I said, I would love to do a postmortem on it.
Yeah, we have a number of things that we should postmortem on this election cycle for sure. I've got a HackMD file started that I can share.
That doesn't actually answer the question of why don't we do this one the same way we did the previous one.
Go ahead, Jory.
I was just, I mean, we could, I just think it is less resilient. I don't think it's, I guess because I would.
It's more prone to human error.
Right, exactly. I mean, we had to quadruple check we were doing it every, that's why.
Do we have an issue for this? If we
exactly?
don't, if choosing the polling tool, I guess. I don't know. It feels like there's like a bunch of opinions and stuff here that we could probably get out in an issue rather than kind of hammering it out in the meeting.
Yeah, I agree. If somebody could drop one in, I think GitHub might be back. That would be great.
Could it not be in the same issue? Maybe that gets confusing for people nominating themselves. But
yeah, because I think it's multiple, elections. I think we should just decide on something for all elections. Also, is this, how are we? How will this vote go? Is it a ranked choice? Is it one vote per regular member? Can you vote for as many people as you want?
Again, I would say that that's probably going to be a function of the tool, and also probably a good discussion for that issue.
Yeah, I agree, Tierney. This is something I can chime in on the issue with some information on this. But yes, it's multiple vote, multiple choice.
You know, basically a proposal, and probably the proposal that says this is what we'll use for all future elections, unless, you know, it turns out like we only have a single nominee, or, you know, the nominees end up being in an area where we don't need the full thing.
Yep. All right, I guess we'll move this over to an issue.
I'm sorry, would it be possible to provide the max number of candidates and max number of voters? Because that informs whether services are free or not.
I second the suggestion of moving this discussion to an issue, because actually, technically, this body is the incorrect body to be making this decision, because it needs to be, what we say in the charter is that up to 2 voting members may be nominated by the regular members. And this discussion is involving a number of people who are not regular members, they're voting members, and therefore are not actually eligible for nominating the regular members. For this case, it would probably make sense. Also, we are probably burning more time here than we are benefiting from.
Yeah, I'd recommend we move on to the next agenda item, please.
Yep. All right, if somebody could create an issue to capture some of that stuff we talked about, that'd be great. Thank you. All right, so moving on. As was mentioned earlier, the issue of pull request 495 is being voted on by the board. So we can move on to the next one. I see, Michael, you got nothing new to report on the OpenJS Collaboration Network. Is that correct?
Nope.
Okay, that's issue 474. Add foundation-wide copyright guidance. Toby, did you jot this down here in the notes as well? Nothing new to report yet?
I did.
Okay. Didn't I see something get merged? One of your other issue got merged, right?
Yeah, it was another thing.
Okay, great. Responsible security disclosures. Michael, I see you are taking notes here.
Yeah, I don't know of any update. You know, I think we need to give Marcin a bit of time anyway. So if we don't get one, like maybe in a week or two, I'll follow up again. But nothing to report this week.
Sure. Excuse me. I don't know if it's worth noting, but security was another priority item that Jory and I were thinking would be good to focus on with the working session as well. But certainly let Marcin kind of do his work, and I think there's some stuff on the AMP side, and we can kind of pull that all together and work on it in a couple weeks. Cool. Well, that exhausted our agenda. So if we want to go back and talk about voting some more, I'm kind of kidding. Should we call it a wrap? Should we work on something in particular? What are people's thoughts?
Before we call it a wrap, Joe, I'll just follow up on something really quickly here. Last week we had talked about making the directory private. I'm doing that right now, actually. But in order to do that, I need to create a new repo because I need to break the association with the upstream version of the directory software. So just a heads up, you'll probably see a notification that I've created a new repo, but it's just because I have to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Anything else? Should we just call it a wrap? I've got a busy day.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Like if we're going to have a deep dive, it's probably good to give people time to think about it in advance.
Yeah, so I'll take.
We missed nominating who exactly is going to file an issue regarding the voting method.
Any takers?
I can do it. It's fine.
Thank you, Tierney. Great. So we'll discuss more there. Thank you.
I
Anything else?
did have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Not related to anything, but one of my team members asked if his company logo could be put up somewhere because they're donating his time, and that wants some recognition for that. And I didn't know if we have a place for that in the OpenJS website, or if we should just make one on the jQuery website, although it would be like the only one right now. So sort of a list of sponsors. Yeah.
I guess
I'm not sure.
Like just thinking of the Node project, we don't have anywhere that like says thank you to companies who are donating people time. The only equivalent we have is for donating resource like machines for the CI.
And then of course, like foundation sponsorship. So like you're paying to be a member of the foundation, which is generally how logos are added to the foundation site. Is my
right. I don't know, something to think about.
Yeah, I mean, maybe create an issue and we can talk about it more there.
Okay.
No. I'll also just take a moment to thank some folks who have joined this meeting or some of the recent meetings. Sarah and Shelley and Salo and Divi and Brian. A bunch of folks have been participating, so thank you.
Thanks.
Cool. Anything else before we call it a wrap? If not, I'll take this free time to wrap that email, and we can make some more progress in GitHub and see each other all next weekend. I hope everybody stays safe and healthy.
Thanks.
Right, thanks.
Thanks. Bye. Take care, folks.
Bye.
Bye.